So how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, and especially in such a just short notice without knowing really what anything is about. So,
So
thank you.
tell us what it's about.
So, I'm one of the founders of a movement called the Forgotten Ones. The handle is We Are As You, and it's a group of people that we've been going dancing outside of MDC Brooklyn.
I want to ask you right now, is that the one that's close to the water, like in Sunset Park?
Yes, that's
right.
the one that's there. And so what happened is that the prisoners there, the people in there haven't had visits since COVID started, beginning of March. And sometimes they go on lockdowns where they are in their small rooms for periods of 3 weeks without leaving even to the hallway.
Shit.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. They haven't seen their families. And you know, this connection that they're having with people is essential. People go outside, and we've been growing a little bit in numbers, and it's been hard because of some stuff that they start writing about us, which I'll address because it's here, like your face. It's like
I'm a avid as we both had the same fifth grade teacher. He was a year before me. He's a year older than me. Who got us into reading the news daily. Ever since fifth grade, I read the news every day. And I actually saw it this morning in the post. So after you finish, I showed them both when I got here this morning. I showed Danny, and I showed him when he arrived.
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, guys, this is in the New York Post, front page. I was like,
yeah, it's gonna be everywhere. So I'm glad to be here, just with a microphone and being able to just share our version, just because it's not about the thing they're trying to make it about. And the only thing that's going to be lost is this thing that the people in there have to look forward to every day. We keep hearing from their families and from the people inside how grateful they are for this, even though now they just have 2 or 3 hours a day outside of their cells. Some of the people by the wall sacrifice one of those hours, and they stay in the room to dance with us. And to put their lights with us and do that connection. We've had up to like 72 windows, banging their lights on the windows and saying hi to us, and it's really been a nice thing for them. And we wanted to invite as many people as possible to go and dance, and it's been growing a little bit in numbers, but then there's the media stuff.
So is this like flash dancing, or you guys choreographed, or?
It started a little bit of just disjointed, and there's people that come to see their people in there, and so we don't have much of a coordinated dance. It started with a little bit of a moonwalk, and they appreciated it. And then
I still can't moonwalk.
Yeah, no, I can't either. But I can't. I really don't dance much. I'm more like the dad there because I'm a dad that it's sort of trying to dance, and it brings that balance to the whole thing. But there's many people like me. They're just trying to give something to what we call the forgotten ones. Because if you think of New York City right now, for example, there's some conditions that they live under that we don't allow for animals right now. There's so much advocacy against them.
Obviously, I've followed the whole situation. First off, I'll say the one reason I knew MDC, man, wasn't even before this was like, I think it was it this winter that just passed or the winter before?
The winter,
when they had no heat, bro.
Yeah.
When we had one of those Arctic, what was it, the polar vortexes?
Yes.
When we were down to like, when it was like 0 degrees, and we were like, the wind made it like negative 20. Like, they had no heat and no hot water. I remember reading that in the news, and that was bad. Like, I remember that was when we had the heat problem. They had it worse. And I'm like, yo, if we're this cold here, I was like, I felt for them. I'm like, yo, we're this cold, and we actually, like, have a building. We can turn on, got to do what the projects do sometimes. This isn't safe. Should say this on air, but you got to turn on the oven to heat the stove. Got to heat the house. Use that motherfucker like a wood-burning stove, man.
These kind of things are done to them because they're forgotten, because we don't feel they are people anymore. It's hard to believe a building in Manhattan that goes for weeks without heat. It's hard to find. It's done. I don't know if it's on purpose or we just really don't care at all about them because of this. And then that's what's about to happen again. We're out there saying that lives matter beyond gender, beyond race, beyond deed, and things like that. But then we do not practice it as much. Look at these people, for example. They're having verbatim. They're saying this is the only joy they have to look forward to. And you have the media focusing on sex and white women and sex cults and just things that sell. And these people are going to lose the only thing.
Let's dive into that. What exactly is the media portraying you guys as?
You want to just say it?
You want to? Well, I'll take it from what I read, and then I want you to explain this to me. Because earlier today, I read when I woke up. I told them, typically first thing I do in the morning, I wake up is read news headlines, Daily News, New York Post, and then I'll check the major media outlets, and then I'll check the, I won't say the sub tweets, but like I'll say the more independent outlets to read other stuff and see, where the stories align and make my own judgments on it. This I've only seen reported one place as of right now. I saw it in the Post. I haven't Googled anything else because I read the Post this morning. That's where it came up. And it's saying, like, it's not saying all of you guys, but saying, like, people have infiltrated almost like anything, like they say happens. Like, some people, like the New York Post is saying that there's some people that are organized that are, like, loyal to the gentleman who was in trouble with whatever that coat was. I can't even pronounce it. NXDM.
Yes, it's called Nexium. And,
Nexium.
I was a teacher in Nexium, and Keith Raniere is my friend. He's been my friend for 10 years. And, it's interesting that if you go and you read the news and you judge the people that appear in the news just by what you read in the news, that's what happened. That's why there's millions of black people in jail, because prejudice rendered them defenseless. And if we do that again with another group, because you call it a sex cult, because you call it a this, because you call it a that, it's no different. And it's interesting. Yesterday there was a BLM meeting outside of MDC Brooklyn, and some of the people that were there had been dancing with us priorly. They loved what we did. They found it on Instagram, and they were there dancing with us, which is the only thing we're doing. The news say that we're communicating Morse code with Keith, which I don't know why we would live stream it if we're trying to do
I mean, I was even telling him about that, like Morse code. I don't even know anyone who would know, like, in this generation, would know Morse code if you're not in the military.
Well, the thing is, like, I think 2 clicks to the light is yes. This is a code that they use because when there's things that prevent from them to have visitations, people outside, this is not something we invented. People go with the lights of their phones and, try to communicate with them as much as they can.
I mean, there's if you know Morse code, it's not hard. I mean, I would guess, and obviously if they have a prison library, if you can find a book, I'm pretty sure you can find a book that'll show you what to do. And
yeah. Also, if we were communicating with him, that wouldn't be wrong. When you go visit people, you have an hour and a half to talk with them about whatever you want. So communicating with them with a lantern wouldn't also be a crime, if you think about it. But the point of these things is always making something good look bad, and eventually the good thing disappears. And there's no good deed that won't have hate, especially nowadays. But the funny thing was, these people were dancing with us, and then they were like, we want to support you. We're going to have a big meeting here on Tuesday, and maybe we'll have some people stay afterwards, But then they went and they read what was online, and they were like, we don't want to support you. And this is what keeps happening. You read something in the news, and you label a group of people like something bad without checking, without anything. This has happened through history. This is what has allowed for whole groups of people to be hated and persecuted. You read the Times Union, and it says it's a concern that such a big number of Nexiums are gathering. There's like 7 people there that knew each other from those programs. And so this large group of Nexiums are gathering. That's like what they say of the Jewish people in 1930s in Europe. You are seeing in front of your eyes character assassinations campaigns on whole groups. And we don't recognize them. You have people that are, speaking against prejudice without knowing, committing also prejudice as we speak. So, I mean, I don't know. The other thing is, I come from Mexico. Forced labor, sex trafficking organizations don't go dance outside of prisons. If you go and Google images of what those things are, it's horrible.
No, I mean, I've told him I've read it. I'm totally against any type of exploitation like that, man. He knows my feelings on people that do that. I find people like in that field to be lower than murderers. The only people lower than that are rapists to me. And it's not something I would expect this, but to see it in the news was shocking. And even then, like after I read the email, I was like, this wouldn't be them. And then I actually saw the name, so I was like, guys, I think we just need to discuss this beforehand. But just as you were part of Nexium, could you explain what actually happened, what went down with that whole thing? 'Cause I remember it being in the news, and I still don't fully understand. All I know is they said like some people were accused of maybe sex trafficking or something of that matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you go and you look at the Nexium was an umbrella of a lot of companies. Some of them are human potential programs for kids, for people with OCD and things like that. It was a very serious company that had more than 17,000 people. That above 95% of them say that they got great results. That it was amazing. Even the people who are adversary now, who brought all this stuff to Keith and his friends, even them, they say that the programs were great. Mm-hmm. They were great programs. There were companies that then. They were just piled up under the name Nexium because the people who knew they were doing these things, they know that it's better to have one bad thing that you can call a sex cult, and then everything under it, takes the wind of that character assassination campaign, that defamation. And the other thing is, I'm not here to defend Nexium or to say what it was. There is a group of people dancing outside of MDC. And the lives in there are important, even if they're murderers. They can't even hear us. They see little people with lights dancing down there.
I'll say this. For us to be a proud nation, I'll say it's an inhumane situation. If you study the modern day prison system, the prison industrial complex, anyone who knows that is essentially a very tantamount to modern day slavery. A lot of major corporations get a lot of goods produced by prison labor for
free prison labor.
Yeah, you have
not free,
in America,
but they pay them like $1 an hour. Like if you're lucky, you might make $2. Those are considered the good jobs.
Well, in America, we don't say the N-word, and we think we don't have slavery because of that. But millions of people in cages that produce money is slavery. You can call it whatever you want, and
it's tantamount to modern day slavery. There's no the prison industrial complex. Anyone who looks at it and sees it any other way can't be looking at the same thing. I'm sorry.
So then when you have that, you have them being treated worse than animals. Why are we talking about sex cults? Why are we talking about things like that?
Did any of the news outlets that wrote about you guys show up while you were dancing?
Yeah, but they show up with an agenda. They show up saying, "Oh, we're here to cover the sex cult." And there's the whole K Rose thing. A family came and they put a message to their person K Rose. I don't know who they are, because being who we are, they didn't want to be recorded. They didn't want to be on camera. And now it's been told as if it was fact and data that this is not a person, that this is code for Keith Raniere. As if people needed code outside of prison, and why would you live stream it again? So you have now this family who went and did the first connection they had. They danced with their family member in almost half a year, and now they're involved in this sex cult thing, and nobody is looking at those windows anymore. We're releasing videos where you can see, it's almost an artistic thing, because you only see the shadows. There's shades with a light, which is some sort of metaphor for the soul. You don't have gender, you don't have deed, you don't have race. You just have a human shadow with a light, and they're all connecting. They're all craving connection. They're enjoying. The thing that's going to be lost if this media thing continues is the thing that they look forward to. And the prison, the people inside report that the morale is up, violence is down. They have something to look forward to.
Yeah, they're getting a show.
Yeah, they're getting a show. We could do like backflips
the people
for
that
them.
they love.
Yeah. And so, there will be stuff that will explain the whole Nexium thing and all that. And, I just don't want to make this movement about that. In some ways, I'm going around trying to get on radio, trying to get on TV, just to bring the focus back to the dance for the people in there. And I don't, I want to call them inmates, but it's been hard, when you're with the families there and you call them inmates, they're not inmates. They're people who are in there.
Yeah.
So the people inside need the focus to be on them. It's offensive, that we have this tendency to look, let's see if white women are being hurt, and because they're saying that there's this sex thing that it's unclear, let's put all the focus there. And you have all the media there coming and looking for white dancing girls while 100 humans are banging on their windows for attention. That is wrong. That we put the focus on that is wrong. And the reason why a lot of people are in that place, and even some of them innocent, it's because that's how prejudice works, because that's how the news work. They tell you what to focus on, and you literally delete beautiful, incredible things that are in front of your eyes. So, if I could use your platform to say something, would be invite people to go and dance outside for those prisoners. They can, they can think it's an excellent thing. They can hate whatever they want to hate, but please go and dance and connect with them. It gives them a reason to live, literally. And, they're treated worse than animals. They go with cold winters, with weeks without leaving their rooms. When you go and you see their shadows, they're connecting with you. It's all that it is about. And, it's a good thing that the people in there and their families are being very grateful and sending us messages every day. So
when you say that you broadcast this, is everyone going live from their own Instagrams and Facebooks, or is there like a platform that you guys...
We have a live stream on the We Are As You. We have the Instagram handle, and we go live on it. I'm sorry to explain it. Like, I'm almost 40. I'm a dad. I go on Facebook every now and then, and it's ridiculous.
So We Are As You.
We Are As You, and you'll transform more into the forgotten ones, because that's the point. Justice has forgotten a whole group of people. The society becomes so arrogant and so indulgent and so whatever that, literally groups of people, we forget about them. My dad was telling me the other day that he was reading that Charles Dickens in 1821. In 1821, 200 years ago, he wrote that when he landed in America, he was just offended of how bad prisons were. And he was shocked that we had something like solitary confinement.
That destroys the human soul.
And 200 years, and after dozens of books by Charles Dickens, we have exactly the same.
But I mean, you look at it, I don't think you would consider solitary confinement for anything other than to break someone down. You only get sent to solitary confinement either, and I don't even, you could say if someone gets sent there for their own safety, because a lot of the time you're in segregated population, but you're around people. When you get sent to like fucking solitary confinement, that's it. Like, you're by yourself. And I think that, they show it, like, people need human contact. You need interaction with people.
We don't allow dogs to go to solitary confinement anymore. That's fined and stuff.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I remember when I first got Netflix a few years ago, and one of the first docuseries or shows that I watched was a show about solitary confinement. And they showed one of the cells. When they walk inside, really small cell, small little window on the top. But if you look at the floor, you could see the wear and tear from somebody walking around in a circle. Like, it's literally a perfect circle of just footprints left that just stained the floor. Like, if you go fucking nuts.
Yes. We believe that a lot of those things can change if people remember them as people. The reason why all those things are allowed is because we don't think of them as people. Even when the news go there, they're all giving them their back. Nobody is getting like close-ups of the windows and their shades. They're like, oh, where's the sex school? Where are the girls? Like, giving their backs literally to the forgotten ones.
But I'll say this, something we frequently say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So I will say, even if it is in a negative light like that, they are at least bringing attention on what you guys are doing, the inhumane conditions there that you guys are there for, even if they... And I will say, honestly, I read both the New York Post and the New York Daily News. I read the Times sometimes when they don't want to flag me and tell me I only have a certain number of articles left to read for the month. I'm not paying you for it. I'm sorry.
Was that the Times?
Yeah, Times, Wall Street Journal, all that shit. But I've only seen it reported in the Post, and I will say this, the Post is also... for it to be New York City, a very conservative news outlet. So I'll give you credit on that, man. There's something I've seen the reporting of that. The Post is the only ones who ran with that. The police with the shit at Shake Shack last month. How they ran out the door with it. Where they said they poisoned them, poured bleach in the shit. Yeah. And none of it happened. None of it happened the way they said. And not even a correction or a go back like, hey, we got a little bit of information. NYPD brass condemned the first lieutenant or whoever it was who tweeted the shit out. But aside from that, like, there's no, hey guys, we jumped the gun, we didn't, get the facts together. And that's a dangerous thing, especially in today's era. Especially in this era of, information, the way everything goes, to have jumped the gun like that. When I read that, I'm just like, why would anyone knowingly pour bleach? And then it's like, it's a pickup order. How do you know it's a cop to go order? Like, none of it made sense, man. And it was just the Post really ran with that shit. So I'll give you credit there. Even though I read the Post is very conservative, and I haven't seen any. And I'll also say this: I haven't seen any news outlet come out and say, hey, the original information we reported was wrong in anything over the last few years.
They don't want to backtrack.
Nowhere backtracks. They just, article disappears, link's gone, and then next one's up. That's it.
Because it's a race about who's first, not about who's right.
Right. There's very little.
You want to be the first one out there.
And then everyone is right.
Yeah, everyone's
right to themselves.
Opinions are facts. And I'll say this: everyone's goal now is like this very limited journalistic integrity left in this. I want to say the world, but not even in the world. I'll say our world in this country, in the U.S.
Yeah.
There's very limited journalistic integrity. Even the major media outlets are reporting with an agenda.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You know, it's interesting when you read about Nexiums, you don't think of, you know, I have a child. I have a 1-year-old. I do translation work. I have a translation small company. You know, I've always done work that is good. And it's, you know, I actually work a lot in the asylum, in the political asylum offices. So I do a lot of rough translations for victims of actual abuse in Central America. And, you know, you have, for example, women that are deaf or with a limited mental capacity who are like, you know, I'm sorry to say these things, but like raped and dismembered and horrible things. So to have like just put everything under Me Too and say like these people that complain about sex cult, that those are like the same as the victims of actual abuse, that actually, you know, that actually dishonors victims of actual abuse. The things that some women are doing in our society versus what some minorities get exposed to, the type of violence, are not of the same category.
Everything just can't be lumped into one thing.
It can't. I am sorry to say, but there's no Me Too about that.
I tell people this is what a lot of situations you want to see it as black and white. The world, as much as I want to say there are a lot of black and white situations, I don't mean black and white in terms of color. I mean A or B. There's no. A lot of the world's gray. There's shades of gray to it.
Yeah.
But there's situations like this where it's not. It's black or white, and people. And once again, I don't mean black or white as in race. I feel like I need to say that every time I say
Just
black or white.
50
People
shades of
take
gray.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of gray in between. And one of the things is like, as a huge sports fan, man, I'm a huge baseball fan. When a lot of Cuban players came over before some of the new reforms that President Obama put on, when Cuban players were coming over to get out of Cuba, the way they have to defect, a lot of the time they have to go through like drug cartels to help them get over. Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Yasiel Puig?
No.
He was a Cuban guy. He came up with the Dodgers about, 2020? I'll say 2014, 2013 maybe. He came up big, fizzled out, but he's still in the Major League Baseball. But his story of getting here, man, how these guys held him at ransom and threatened to kidnap him and like come back and get him. He was already playing for the Dodgers, had apparently paid his fee after getting his big contract. And like there were still calls, people still threatening him, threatening his family, and things. Or like the articles already, it was crazy, man.
I mean, if you import logic to the news, you'll figure out that something's going on. If you go and Google images of sex trafficking, of forced labor, those are amongst the most horrible things that happen in the world.
Yeah,
if you go and you see what those organizations are, which are more like what you're describing, you know, those people don't go dance outside of prisons. If that was ever to happen, you'll have the army there in a minute. You know, that is not what happened. And then this Morse code secret thing, why would we live stream it? If you put logic into it, it doesn't make sense. It's not meant to make sense. And I think the only thing that I would have to say for the people that hear us are, you know, we're focusing on black people so much. And I think you guys could be the better person, you know, whoever is black out there listening. They've been subject to horrible campaigns of defamation for decades that rendered them criminals. And that is amongst the most awful thing that can happen to a race. And that is happening to people in Nexium now. It doesn't look like it because it never looks like it. It always looked like the people that are being reported as bad are actually bad. But I think we can be better than before. And you guys can see beyond race and beyond the news and say, wait, let's see who these people are. They are people. Don't allow for these things to be done to other races or to other groups of peoples. Because, you know, it's the same process. Hate is hate.
How often do you guys go and dance?
Every day. Every day, 8 to 9 p.m. We're growing in numbers. Everyone knows now inside the prison, they communicate, they come, and they try to be as much as they can there. They dance with us. We're all listening to the same radio station. I don't know if I can say it because I don't want to promote another radio station, but we're all listening to the same radio station that they listen to inside. So what we want is for, I can say it?
What station?
97.1. We thought, it sounds really rough. We thought they would be willing to.
No, I know WQHT New York. You don't know who that is? 97.1 WQHT New York.
No, it's Hot
97?
No,
No,
Hot 97.
WQHT Hot 97, B.
I just said Hot
That's
97.
that your number.
So
no,
apparently
you said WB.
I thought
You
it
said
was
Kiss
Kiss
FM,
FM.
folks.
A lot of people inside listen to that, and so it's a way for because they have the short wave radios, they have like old radios
Yeah,
with batteries. It's the only
terrestrial.
thing they can have.
Yeah.
They listen to what we're listening to, so they know, even though they can't hear us, they know what we're listening to, and they are dancing to the same beat that we are. If we get someone from that station or from another station that they could listen to inside live, there dancing with us, we could communicate with them. We can metaphorically go through the wall. So this is something that we're looking for, and we're looking for a lot of people to dance. You see, what we do is we dance with a lot of energy. It's painful for the people dancing. Ironically, you see their shapes, you see the excitement of the craving for human connection, and it's sad. But you take the sad and you like take it on the chin and you dance with excitement because the dance is for them. This is not about me. This is not about how hard it is for me. This is, if it's hard for me to go and see the conditions they're in, that's fine. I can go cry later. But when we go there, we dance and we give them a good time.
I mean, I'm blown away by this entire thing. Just the fact that the moral support is evident. The fact that you can put smiles on people's faces on the inside and give them something to look forward to every day, that's magic right there.
It's great.
But is the goal to get them further assistance inside, to get them heat, or
Well, we'll see. Once there are humans in there, the press and the people won't allow these crimes to be committed to them. The reason why they occur is because nobody cares. And
So
we intellectually understand is wrong, but we don't feel it. We don't go there and see them as people. If a million people, we want this to grow into other prisons, maybe even like care homes and other places that have the same situation. We want this to grow into a thing where people who want to dance and connect with people who have no connection, they can go and do it all over America. We want that, but I forgot what I was going to say.
you was
That's so
talking
many
about
points.
the fact that you're starting a movement that's about to go global.
Thank you.
That's what I just got out of it.
So,
if
I'm
you can
talking
get
about-
people from other states to go to their prisons, especially the ones that have terrible, terrible conditions, and people are locked down in quarantine and they're not allowed out of their cells and shit like that, and you could start this, bro. Like, you already have really huge outlets reporting on you. Whether it's like he said, there's
Good
no
or
such
bad,
thing as
there's
bad press.
There's no such thing as bad press, good or bad.
You got a foundation right
I'm
now.
sorry. Our country right now is being fueled by terrible press. Either way.
It's
Either
crazy.
way. Being fueled by
It's crazy.
terrible press.
I mean, being in this side of it, it's just crazy. You wake up fitting your son and your thing, you're this, you're that everywhere, and it's incredible, but back to that, I think if we can make this grow, it will be impossible for people to be treated the way they're being treated, because everyone will know, because people will be outside, because people will be feeling that they're the own family. When somebody in there is your brother or your husband or your son, it changes forever.
Yeah.
People go there and they turn their lives towards helping the person that's inside. Sadly, what that also means is that the people supporting and going against the abuses in prison, they have been victims to these things, and we see them as victims, and that's it. They're victims. We feel bad for them, but that's it. What needs to happen is that people like me, people like us that are not a victim of the system yet, that we haven't been destroyed by the system, we, the people, need to say enough is enough. And when the people that are not categorized as victims say enough, then enough is enough. And that's what has changed any society before. People that are not victims of the system, that are not labeled as victims, to stand up and change things. If a bunch of people that are not victims of the system say enough, we're here, we're dancing, but we're also watching, they will live better immediately. We're not talking about justice reform in a decade. We're talking about bettering their conditions in months. By watching them, by being them, with them, for them. This is the way societies change, not with the government, not with protests. They change with people taking control back. We can go and watch them. We can go and humanize them. We don't need permission from the government to do that.
That's powerful shit right there.
I mean, you
bro.
don't need permission from the government to do a lot, man. That was one thing I stressed early in Corona, that the early parts of this coronavirus shut down. That annoyed me, where people were waiting for permission to not send their kids to school, stop going to work.
Crazy.
Like, they're like, hey, you're going to shut down the government? Like, it's like, at the end of the day, you have the power to make your own choices, good or bad. You're allowed free will. You're an adult. And even more so than that, you're a fucking American adult. You have more freedoms than a lot of other people in the world. exercise them, use them right, use them for good. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people use them to complain, act like a bitch, say, I don't want to wear a mask. It's my God-given right to do this and that. There's a lot of stupid things people want to use their God-given American freedoms for. But, I mean, we're not allowed to tell people what to do as Americans. We hope they do better. But
and I'm sorry to say this, but going on social media and being right and being the smartest and being arrogant doesn't change anything. You know, that only builds
really
hate.
Doesn't.
That's 100% right, man.
It really does not.
No one realizes, and it drives me up the wall.
And there's too many people that feel that they're making a big change just by posting things.
Because everyone wants to be an influencer.
So this movement has the uniqueness that we're not saying we're right about this, we're right about that, you should listen to this, you should make wrong this, the president is this, the president that. We're saying, come and dance and connect with them. You don't need permission for that. If you go and you connect with them, you change things. If thousands of people go and connect with them, exercising their freedom to dance, their freedom to connect with others, which is something they can do. They just know to get in their car and go and dance. That changes things. There's been countries that have achieved their independence by singing. There's countries that have achieved independence by dancing. These are the things that the people do when they have a government that doesn't look out for them anymore. Do you guys think we have a government that looks out for us?
I don't think they ever did.
It depends on who you are.
Exactly. So, you know,
like Chappelle said,
feel that's
he's fighting for me.
The government looks out for some, not all. And I tell people when it comes to this Make America Great Again slogan, this is going to get me the most trouble right now. When it comes to this slogan right now, I tell anyone, pick any era in the United States American history from 1776, its founding, or if you want to jump back to when the colonies first got here, whatever the fuck you want to pick it as, to when this country was 100% great for 100% all parties involved. And there's no era in United States history when you can pick that. If you want to say maybe let's keep moving America forward and striving for greatness, yeah, I'm okay with that. But keep America great, make America great. It's tough to say we ever had a period where it was great for all parties involved.
You know, I can say as someone who came from Mexico that there is a greatness to America if we compare it to certain things.
I have to talk to my dad all the time. There's one thing, I don't mean to cut you off, is that without a doubt, being an American citizen is a privilege.
Yeah.
Not a God-given right. It's a privilege. It's something that I think a lot of people take for granted. Mainly bratty, spoiled, entitled people who, this is my freedom, give it to me, and don't understand what it is to ever understand the conditions to come from. I mean, you're talking about Mexico, but even you, right now, we can see in the news going on with the cartels and stuff down there.
It's crazy.
Even the separate states having the problems trying to rein it in. And then you look at some of the problems in Central America with trafficking, sex trafficking organizations, even gangs down there. And other places across the world, man. I have friends who grew up under communism that I worked for when I did real estate, who grew up in Poland under the fucking under the fucking Red Curtain, the Iron Curtain. What was it called when they were over there? The Warsaw Pact,
something like that.
The Iron Curtain, right? Who grew up under that and immigrated here and knew what communism was. I know people who lived under that.
Didn't Leslie Mandoki talk about that?
Leslie Mandoki. We had somebody who interviewed like that. There are people who understand that, and I will say wholeheartedly, to live here is to enjoy freedoms that the rest of the world doesn't, and I don't think people get that. And how some of the shit they're striving for is going to strip some of those freedoms away from us.
Well, we're about to lose them too.
A lot of them.
Here's the thing. You know, I come from a place where there's no justice system, and the difference from here is that, you know, people know it from decades ago. You know, you ask anyone, well, you know, really, it's a country of drug dealers, it's a country of this, and everyone was like, yeah, pass me another beer. You know, we know this. You know. We know this.
Give me a whiskey.
In America, I think you're losing your justice system, but the difference is people haven't accepted yet. And I think that gives hope. Part of why I'm doing this is, you know, I tell my wife every day, you know, as I speak, there's horrible things being written about me. Why would I come and grab a microphone? It's because I have to. I'm a teacher of expression. I'm a translator. I want to see my children have children. It's what I want. I'm no hero of any type. But somebody has to say something. I know what it's like to be in a country with no justice. It's not good. And, you know, sometimes societies grow arrogant and, you know, we believe that can't happen to us because we're great. But, you know, I'm not sure. And maybe it never will happen to America. But as someone who is a guest in this country, I have to say something. I have to do something because I know what happens when you lose your justice system. I've been there. I grew up 25 years in Mexico. And, you know, I just can't allow these things to happen again in front of my eyes, not again.
I tell people all the time, one of the biggest things that hurts this country is the citizens' hubris. Is that they don't think it can happen. They don't believe it can happen. We've seen it. You study history. Things like this have happened. This is how societies go down this path. And you look at it, everyone says they don't realize it until it's too late. And there's some people that want to lead this country in a way that's just terrible from both sides. And until people that get up to say it all the time, the greater population wakes up and understands the trick, the wool being pulled over their eye, everything going on, no one's gonna notice, or even if they do care to give a shit. And that's what it feels like sometimes. I tell people, one of the things I tell people, if you want to watch something, and I'll say know what it is to feel like an American, and made me feel the most American I felt in my entire life, and I didn't even live through this, but I told you when I watched the Ken Burns Vietnam documentary. It's about 17 and a half hours long. It's on Netflix. It's broken up into like 10 parts. It's an eye-opening watch because it shows from both sides. And like listening to the families of American soldiers who were lost, listening to the soldiers who were over there, listen to they even interview some old like Viet Cong soldiers, people who were in the Viet Cong, and like they say how they they just kept mounting losses, and even the American soldiers who say like you would see the losses on their side, but they just keep coming. And they said they admired some of them for that because no matter how much they lost, they were fighting to defend their freedom of their country and keep their country from like the U.S. And it's just crazy on both sides. But I tell people, you look back at that, and that's like in the last 100 years, one of the more polarizing eras in this country was the Vietnam era, along with what we've gone through recently. Yeah. These are in the last 100 years some of the most polarizing things in this country, and to like see it as someone who didn't grow up through it, knew a little bit about it, but see it like unfiltered and raw like that it'll make you appreciate it, man. Because there's even a U.S. A soldier who says when he got home he was so disgusted with everything that he renounced his citizenship. And he was like, it was his worst decision he ever made in his life. He's like, I live in Canada now, and no matter how good I'm treated, no matter how much I like the environment, I'll always be a foreigner, and I can never go home.
And that's just a mentality that I don't think is going to go anywhere. People are always going to feel that way because people are always going to treat them that way. But as the show's coming to a close, we got a few minutes left. What do you want to say to anyone who wants to join your movement, and where can they go to find you?
They can find us in the Instagram, either the Forgotten Ones or We Are As You, hashtag We Are As You. It's already growing, so you can use that one. And most come and dance outside of MDC Brooklyn from 8 to 9. Come and dance and look at the windows, look at the people in there, wave to them. They're dancing with you. Everyone, even the worst murderer, trafficker, has some sort of humanity and process that needs to be respected. If you come and you connect with the people there without any judgment, you will be contributing for less prejudice. You will be contributing for humanity. And you come and you dance and you focus on them. You can go read later about whatever you want. You can tweet whatever you want about the people you see. You can do whatever you want. But if you're going to come and give your back to them because you're trying to write a note or whatever, don't come. If you're going to come, you come to dance, you come with your light, with your phone, and you engage with them because it's the only hour of the 24 that they are looking forward to. So come and dance, come and connect with them. As many people as can come. My hope would be that as many people come and dance to MDC Brooklyn tonight from 8 to 9 p.m.
Well, I gotta say, it was a huge pleasure meeting you, brother.
Yes, man. This was a great conversation. I'm glad you came
on the show. This was a really interesting conversation.
It was, man. I think we're gonna get some feedback from this, both positive and negative.
Yeah, and so I apologize. I sometimes bring bad news.
I appreciate what you said to come on here, man. A lot of people, this comes out in the press. People would have ducked it, not say anything. You came and tackled it face first. Came right at it, man.
Thank you for being open. Thank you. It's
absolutely.
I want to tell you guys that I really feel grateful to what you just did because it's difficult. It's rare. People don't read what you read and then give a microphone to someone. They don't. Maybe they hit them with a microphone. But
you do that here at Good Morning Bushwick.
And I actually didn't even get to touch on it, man, because we're about to wrap up. But I guess I'll talk about it. But just like one of the things is like just trying to force people's opinions, man. And that's one thing I see right now with this whole boycott and Goya thing, man. I don't agree with what the man said, but as an American citizen, you have to agree.
He has the right to say what he wants to say.
It's his right as an American citizen. You don't have to like it, but respect that that's his right. And people trying to. And I told my girl, like, the quickest thing that is gonna push a one world government, man. You have to agree with our opinion, or you're the enemy. Like It's an opinion, not a fact.
And
And
we
people
ju-
are allowed their own.
Before we take off, we just have to remind